Welcome to Virtual Office Hours, sponsored by the American Bar Association and Access Lex. The Virtual Office Hours series connects you with experts to help you thrive as a law student and prepare for life after law school. Managing real life expenses and trying to save for long term financial goals are difficult tasks for most people, not just law students. So today we're excited to have Amy Team Gordon with us to discuss creating a financial plan that will help get you on the right track for the coming year and beyond. She'll give tips and then she'll answer your questions. So be sure to drop them in the Q&A component at any time. Amy is Regional Manager at Access Lex Center for Education and Financial Capability. She has spent over 20 years helping students and families achieve their dreams of pursuing higher education with financial self-awareness and confidence. Having an academic background in economics, Amy helps students recognize the opportunity cost in each decision, leading to balanced, informed financial strategies. Amy has worked on both the for-profit and nonprofit side of student loan business for most of her professional life and understands the personal and professional balance many people desire. Her passion is to assist students and families in successful repayment of their student loans while enjoying a successful personal and professional lifestyle. Amy, we're going to turn things over to you now.
Great. Thank you so much, Tracy. And thank you to all of you. Welcome to our event today. It is titled Creating Your Financial Plan for the New Year, which is part of your ABA office hour sessions. I'm happy you've chosen to join me today for what I hope to be a very lively discussion. Please feel free to chat with me in that chat panel or the Q&A panel. We do have quite a few questions out there that came in, which I love questions. So if they spur additional questions, please feel free to do that. I'd like to get started with just a very brief disclaimer that the information provided in Max by Access Lex events and other Max resources is being available to assist you in developing your personal financial strategy and is not intended to seek advice from an appropriate professional advisor. So that's our legal disclaimer that we have for you. So let me tell you a little bit about Access Lex and our Max program. Tracy mentioned that I am with Access Lex Institute Center for Education and Financial Capability. We are excited to partner with the American Bar Association for this series, Virtual Office Hours. Access Lex is a nonprofit organization committed to helping students find their path from an aspiring lawyer to a fulfilled professional. As you look on the screen, you'll see our Max program, which is our personal finance program specifically just for law students. This may be something that sounds familiar to some of you and maybe not for others. For some of you, this is familiar because you might be attending a Max school. For others, you might be out in the work world already and you may not know about Max, but we have about 167 law schools that use our Max program. And so if you are one of those schools and you are currently in school, please look at our Max program. If not, we have other services for those of you that are out of school or that are at a school that is not a participating Max program. So let's jump into there we go, into our workshop today. So what do I mean about creating your financial plan for the new year? For some of you, prepping your financial plan is something that can be helpful for you to establish goals and develop strategies to meet those goals. Some of you may have a very formal process where you're actually writing things down. Others might just have a mental list in your mind that, hey, I'd like to save $20,000 this year. I'd love to buy a new car. So most of you have some type of goal in mind. And so let's talk about how you start that process when it comes to building your goals for the new year. There is a saying out there, right, by Stephen Covey, that you start with the end in mind. And so that's really what goals are. Goals are starting with the end in mind. So let's look at grouping your goals. Okay, so you have personal goals, you might have family goals, you might have financial goals. And then lastly, you might have, let's see why this is not professional goals. Okay, so these are what I generally recommend, that divide your goals up. And within each of these goals, the categories, you can then narrow down and establish some strategies. So let's get you started. The first step you want to do is, when you're identifying some of your goals, is review this past year. This has been a very strange year for many people, right, with COVID. So we want to take a look at, how did you fare this year? Did you do better than you thought? Did you do worse, right? Then based on that, where do you want to be next year, and what can you do to maybe change the trajectory of being more successful? Okay. Finally, you'll want to revise, going to take a look at how you did this year in those 4 categories of personal, family, financial, and professional goals. You're going to take a look at what worked well, what didn't work well. You're going to look into the next year. What is happening next year on your timeline that could affect whether or not you meet these goals? So here are some thoughts, and here's some tips for you to really look at when you're evaluating. It's what I call the New Year checklist, right? We want to take a look at not only your own individual income, but your household income. Okay, is it going to go up? Do you foresee it going up? Do you foresee it going down? Your family status, is it going to expand? Are you thinking of having children? Are you thinking of getting married? Or, I hope not, are you moving about where you think next year is going to take you? Also think about any necessary projects or purchases that you may have. If you own a home, it might be time for a new water heater, right? Or maybe an appliance is on its last leg. So you'll want to think about those checklists as you are looking at your goals. Okay, and of course, the cornerstone for all of this, to really help you kind of springboard into a successful year, is to review your credit. Okay, when I talk about reviewing credit, I'm talking about running your credit report, knowing your credit score. How has it changed during the COVID environment? How can you strengthen your credit? Okay, it's always good to have some credit in your back pocket, because you don't know when an emergency may come up and you may need to utilize that. The second thing, once you've done your nice checklist, you want to take action. Okay, you want to make plans to protect your income stream. So if COVID has impacted you slightly, and from the standpoint, maybe you were furloughed for 25% of the year, right? What do you think next year is going to be? And try to make plans to protect that income stream. For some of you, it may be picking up a contract job. It might be, if you are in school, it might be tutoring. Okay, so think about some plans, how you can protect that income stream, not only for yourself, but the household. Evaluate and establish savings account or project plans. Okay, that's in all the various areas that you have, from a personal goal standpoint, right? Or family goal, financial goal, professional goals. You want to really establish those savings accounts. Okay, and then of course, remember I just mentioned, obtain your credit report as a baseline. I don't know if many of you know this, but 1 in 4 consumers have a material error on their credit report. So it's always good. You don't want to wait until you absolutely need credit and then find out there's something negative or derogatory on your credit that doesn't even belong there. So it's good for you to think about obtaining that credit report now. And in our COVID environment, you can actually, it used to be you could only obtain your credit report for free once a year through annualcreditreport.com or once a year through any of the three major credit reporting agencies. That would be TransUnion, Equifax, right? So with COVID though, annualcreditreport.com is allowing consumers to run their credit report on a weekly basis because there is so much fraud going on out there. The consumers are really being asked to pay particular attention to their credit reports. Is it time for you to pivot as you're going through everything, right? Do you have a change in family status? Are you anticipating a change in your family status? Do you have a change in your household income? Is that going to change for you? What are you going to do about that? So in some cases where I talked about protecting, right, and preserving your household income, you may know that if COVID does not come to an end soon, that maybe your income will be affected negatively, right, into next year. So you want to really kind of take an honest approach and look at that. Other actions to take: review your health insurance coverage, update beneficiaries. Very, very important. And review and adjust your tax status and position. Because in COVID, what we have found is cash is king, right? And so you want to pay, many experts will tell you, you don't want a huge refund at the end of the year, and you don't want to pay a big tax bill at the end of the year. So you want to really take a look at your tax status and your position and make sure you're breaking even or as close to even as possible. When you're looking at the future, okay, as you're going through and you've looked at where you think you're going to be next year, you've established these goals and strategies to get there, you want to make sure that you are reviewing those goals on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. And we have a recommendation that the more you do this, the quicker it becomes. So I review my goals. My husband and I sit down every December. We take a look at where we are, how we performed last year, and where we want to see ourselves in the upcoming year. And we'll take a look at what went well and what did not go well. So for instance, this year, because of COVID, the one thing that went well for us is that our food bill actually went down. We weren't eating out as much. We were not doing impulse grocery shopping, right? Because I was ordering online and I'm ordering only what we need. And so that's something that we are considering as we plan for next year, that how much longer can we continue to really try to make that a habit, right? And adjust the goals. So we are actually reducing our food budget this coming year in the hopes of adding some more money into some of our other savings account or projects that we want to do. Okay, so the more you do this, the quicker it becomes. It's something that stays in the forefront of my mind. We actually sit down as a couple every quarter and we take a look where we are. And so we have actual dollar goals for various savings accounts, and we look how close we are and make any adjustments that are necessary for us. Now, I mentioned to you Max, right? One of our most popular services is free private coaching. All of us are accredited financial counselors that are coaches. And so anytime you want to talk to us or you need to ask some questions, right? You can use this toll-free number, schedule a meeting, you pick your coach. We all have bios, right? You pick your coach, you pick time and day, and we give you a call. And it is absolutely free to you. You can call as many times as you want, and there is not a charge. So I really want to emphasize the Access Connect coaching that's available out there. If you happen to be at a Max school, You have Max Coaching. They're one and the same. Max Coaching is just for those of you who are at our Max schools. If you are not at a Max school, the Access Connect coaching is there. So what I really wanted to spend some time on today is Tracy had forwarded it to me quite a few questions. And these are really good questions. And I'm hoping that we can have a dialogue back and forth on some of them. And I can give you some thoughts. So the first question was how to develop a simple budget, right? You can get as complex as you want or as high level as you want. So basically, if you want to start with just a high level simple budget, you will have a category for monthly housing expenses. You will have a category maybe for personal expenses and maybe a category for savings. All right, that's high level, 3 buckets for you to focus on. Establish some goals in each one of those buckets. All right, then from there, you can either expand or reduce any other goals. But if you start with those overall big categories, I think it might help. Another great question that came up is how do you create a budget with no income coming in? Right? That I get that from a lot of law students, and they're like, I have no income. In fact, my net worth is negative right now, right? Because you're in school. But know that it is not going to be forever. And so while you're in school, even though you don't have perhaps official ongoing income that's coming in, you might be borrowing student loans. That student loan money or the refund of those student loans is your income. And so it's up to you to really manage that and to try to reserve as much money as possible to minimize the amount you borrow. Other things that many law students do is they pick up part-time jobs, right? Tutoring is very big right now. Law students are excellent writers. And so there is always a demand for some assistance in English, right? In writing. Those are really key elements out there. So think about maybe doing something like that on your spare time. Now, what's the best way to budget with certain financial goals in mind? This is another question that I really like. And so here's a thought, right? Think about if you have a specific financial goal in mind. Let's say you are a law student and you are a 3L. Your goal is to get through the spring semester and be able to get through your bar prep period without borrowing money. So think about that. That would be a great goal. Now, how do you go about that? Well, you want to start now thinking about ways, maybe over the holidays, don't spend as much, right? Get creative in your gift giving during the holiday season. I know many of us tend to go overboard, especially with COVID. My daughter did a really unique thing when she was in law school. She gave 5 hours of IOU legal assistance 1 year as Christmas gifts when she was the 3L. And it really came in handy because when you graduate and you pass the bar, everybody is asking you questions, right? And so this was her way of just letting people know, a reminder, hey, I'm a 3L student. I have 1 more semester left. I'm happy that you have supported me this far and know that I will be here to help support you once I'm done. So be creative, think outside of the box. And I'm an economist. And so I am all about the little things that can go into big things. All right. So I look at when students ask me about budgeting, obviously the first thing that they don't want to hear, but the biggest bang for your buck is getting a roommate. But not everybody can really live with a roommate. And so what I say is you make your choices and then you have to adapt. So if you want to live by yourself, not have a roommate, then perhaps you might need to get a studio apartment instead of a 1-bedroom. Maybe perhaps you will give up central air in your apartment for fans or unit air conditioning, right? Just so that you can live by yourself. So think about that. Think about these small little changes that are habits that you can make. For instance, as you go into your final semester, if you are a rising 3L in the spring, right, you will have even less time to be watching TV or watching shows. So you may cut back on your cable, you may reduce your streaming accounts. Those are all ways, the little things that turn into big things. If you save $10 here, $10 there, another $10, before you know it, you might be surprised that you can save $50 a month and just add that towards whenever you're going to be studying for the bar. So, what tips do I have, or that would I recommend for students who are entering the job market? This was a really big deal this past May when a lot of law students had their jobs postponed, right? Because bar exams were also postponed. So here's what I would recommend for you is that give yourself and start creating your emergency fund now. Try to come up with a backup plan that should the bar get pushed in July of this year, what is your backup plan? Will you be moving home? Are you going to still stay in your apartment? And if you are, how are you going to come up with your expenses? So now is the time to think about that, not March. Okay. And this is a time that many of you are probably home, or at least you're virtual for your classes. You know, put those plans together, have a discussion with people, find out what your friends are doing and other colleagues, and maybe you can come up with some type of a pooled response. All right. And so that's what I would say is really, because we don't know what your job market is going to look like, that it is always good to continue to network, continue to look for those part-time positions or those project positions and have those lined up for you. And you just never know where that next job can come. Some of you may actually go outside of the legal world field temporarily, right? Until perhaps your full-time job opens up. So I want you to be flexible. I think that's the number one thing. Take advantage of all the free resources that are out there. If you have or you're experiencing severe financial hardship, again, I would recommend that you schedule an Access Connect coaching session and let us help you develop a plan that can be unique to yourself. Okay. Tracy, did anything else come in yet? I'm going to continue with our questions.
We don't have any additional live questions at the time, but if the attendees have any questions, just drop them in the Q&A, and Amy will address them live.
Great, thank you. So, and here's a question that comes up all the time. How can I manage my personal financial plan or goals while paying back six-figure debt of student loans, right? How do you balance that? How do you balance being able to perhaps save and purchase a home or a condo or a townhouse when you have $150,000, $200,000 in student loans? Does that prevent you from being able to reach some financial stability? And I'm here to tell you that the answer is no, it does not prevent you. With your student loans, your federal student loan program, there are a lot of different repayment options for you. And one of them that is wonderful is called income-driven repayment plans, where your monthly payment is not based on how much you owe, but based on your household adjusted gross income. And what that means is if you are married and filing taxes jointly, they will look at joint income. On some of these income-driven repayment plans, even if you're married but you file taxes separately, some of these plans will only look at your income, thereby further reducing your monthly payment on your student loans. Now, here's the trade-off, right? If you're going to expand the amount of time in paying off your loan, what do you think is happening? You're paying more interest, right? And so you have to this goes into creating your financial plan. Prioritize your goals. What is your number one goal? Is paying off your student loan a number one goal for you? Or is perhaps purchasing a home the number one goal? Or for some of you, it might even be that you're saving to get married, right? And that's a number one goal. So what I want to tell you is that there are ways that you can establish your strategy based on the priority of your debt that's outstanding. Okay. And so just because you have $150,000 in student loans does not prohibit you from buying a house. My daughter used those income-driven repayment plans when she got out of law school, thereby reducing her monthly payment for student loans. Okay. And then because her monthly payment got reduced, her income debt ratio rose. And so it enabled her to qualify for a mortgage, even though she had about $96,000 in debt. Okay, so there's a way that you can manage all of that. And again, Access Connect can absolutely help you with that. So absolutely, there is a way to manage those six-figure debts. Don't forget that there is also currently public service loan forgiveness. And I know many of you have probably heard that with public service loan forgiveness, so few people are actually achieving it. And what we do at Access Lex Institute and in our coaching sessions, we make sure we set you on a successful path from the very beginning. So you are not part of the stories of people waking up 10 years from now and realizing they were in the wrong plan or realizing they didn't have the right loans to be forgiven, right? We're going to walk you through that from the very beginning, ask all the questions that need to be asked, and then put you on that right path. Okay? So if you have law school debt, okay, where do you start? If you are a 3L student, you have law school debt, you have six-figure law school debt, where are you going to begin creating your financial plan? And that's a really good question. So what I would first begin doing is I would look at what is the minimum you need to live off of between now and August 31st. Reduce whatever is not essential. Okay, and I know that's going to be hard because we all feel that certain things are essential. But remember, this is just temporary, right? If you could save yourself $10,000 over the next 10 months, why wouldn't you, right? So really kind of sharpen that pencil and take a look. That's where I would start. I would first start at taking a look at your costs right now. Where can you cut? Do you need a bar study loan? Do you have any additional room left over to borrow in the federal program? And put together that plan so that it will get you through August 31st. Okay? I talked about public service loan forgiveness. Remember, public service loan forgiveness is for people that are in government, state or federal or nonprofit. For many young associates, you might be working in a mid-sized boutique firm. And so your salary will not be that of big law, right? It might be somewhere maybe around $100,000 a year, $80,000 a year, plus some bonuses. What do you do if you have six-figure debt? Okay. My first suggestion is do what you love. Do what you love. Tracy and I had a conversation before this started, and if you do not find where your passion is, getting up every day for 30 years to go to a job or career that you don't absolutely love makes the days and the years go very slowly. But if you love what you do and you're working lots of hours, it doesn't even seem like work because you enjoy it so much. So I would say the number one is find your passion. Okay. Number two, know that no matter how much debt you have in federal loans, that there is a repayment plan that will meet and help you achieve your financial goals. You just have to reach out to us. We'll walk through all the different repayment plan options with you. We can talk about what savings goals you may have in mind over the next 3 years or 5 years, and draw up a plan that will help you succeed in that. All right. In addition, there is a plan forgiveness under income driven repayment plans. And what that means is that if you pay under certain plans for a certain number of years, it can still be forgiven. The big difference is when money is forgiven under a plan forgiveness, it is treated as taxable income. So you will get 1099 at the end of the year for whatever is forgiven after 20 or 25 years of repayment, and owe taxes on that. But it is a forgiveness. PSLF, public service loan forgiveness, there is no tax consequence whatsoever. It gets forgiven free and clear. And you go on with your life after you make 120 qualifying payments. There's the plan forgiveness again, 20 or 25 years of repayment under reduced payment amounts. Remember, income-driven repayment plans go by your income, okay? And it's the income of your household if you're married and filed jointly. So there are lots of options for you to consider in that vein, okay? What special steps, this is, moving on to these questions. What special steps can 3Ls take to manage your money as you prepare to graduate and bar prep with or without job or income? So I think I've covered that a little bit, right? I talked about really minimizing your essential expenses. I would also recommend for you, sometimes it's not possible, especially when you're doing bar prep, to be working. Right? You really want to focus. It's the one time in your life that you should really, lots of people will say it is not a good idea to be working while you're trying to prep for the bar. So really plan ahead. There are bar study loans out there. I would absolutely research those in advance. You can give us a call through Access Connect. We'll help give you some suggestions of what we know out there in today's market. Bar prep loans are really just private loans. They're private unsecured loans. Their rates are going to be higher, their fees are going to be a little higher, and their repayment options are going to be less than on the federal side. But it is there for you. And so if that's something you need, absolutely take advantage. But we really recommend that you first take a look at your federal financial aid that's remaining. And law schools are allowed to provide you with additional funds to take one bar exam. It's a one time only. So if you're taking one, and let's say it's $500, right? You can actually borrow additional funds under the federal program to cover that bar exam. Okay, so that's kind of what I have as far as thoughts. If you are in school and you're kind of working your way into your final semester, there were a few questions for some of you that might be 1Ls. What are the best ways to afford the unpaid summer internship for 1L? Right, that's pretty popular. So here's my recommendation. When my daughter did her unpaid internship as a 1L, she actually got a restaurant job and she was a waitress part-time. That way she could spend full-time day at her internship, and she spent the weekends trying to earn extra money. Okay, so think about that. A little bit more work for you. You'll be a little tired, right? But think about picking up that part-time job on the side. Also, some law schools may have some assistance for you on an unpaid internship. So I would ask your career services office. They are folks that are very in tune with what is going on in the legal field around your law school, and they'll be able to help you. So again, I would recommend if you are in that position, talk to your career service office, ask about options, ask about project jobs that you can do, that it might be just a 1-week job in which you can do your internship and get paid on a project. Okay, again, really have to emphasize to go to your school's career services office. All right, network, network, network. Those are big things. I know that in today's environment, we're a little Zoom exhausted, right? Everything is Zoom. And the last thing you want to do is do another Zoom meeting with someone. But I really have to emphasize, you never know who you're going to meet or where they might be able to help you obtain that next position or that next project for yourself. Okay. I don't see, I think I've answered most of the questions out there. There was one big question on investing. And so Tracy, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a couple of minutes and address the investing portion.
No, that'd be great. Thank you.
The question was, the next was, any suggestions on ways I can save or invest better? So I am very conservative and is very aggressive, right? He likes to take the chance. He wins big and he loses big, right? So you have to, when you say invest better, okay, I think that becomes very subjective. And you have to think about, how comfortable are you with risk? And you never really invest more than what you can afford to lose. And so many advisors will tell you to have a balanced portfolio, right? Put a certain percentage to be a little bit more risky, that could give you some large returns. Keep a little bit of money in maybe a mutual fund, right? You could kind of spread out that risk a little bit for you. But remember that when you talk about savings and investing, those are, your end result is different, okay? Savings really is an emergency fund. It is savings for a particular reason, and it's not necessarily meant as growth, okay? Investing is when you are looking at growth, that I'm investing because I want to triple my money. I want to double my money in 5 years, right? So know that that's the differential between savings is you're saving towards something, investing is growth. Okay, so look at how you are, and many people really kind of split their money along the lines of having a percentage be a little bit more aggressive, having some money just sit in a savings account, usually an emergency fund of some sort, right? And everything in between. So that's what I would recommend. I would also recommend, for those of you who might be employed or as you look for jobs out there, many law firms have financial planners as part of their 401k programs. Utilize them. They're a free resource for you. I'm all about using free resources. The more you talk to people, the more you will learn, and the more you will learn about yourself and how comfortable you are with risk. Okay? As far as balancing student loan payback and other investments like paying down mortgages, because I'm an econ major, right? I always look at what is the most expensive credit out there. Not everybody does it that way. It is however you feel the most comfortable. Some people like to pay down their biggest debt first, right? The largest dollar debt. Some people like to pay down the debt that's the most expensive, the highest interest rate debt. Okay. And so it's really up to you. How are you envisioning creating that financial plan, establishing investment opportunities for yourself, establishing a savings plan for yourself? So you'll want to think about that. And there are no two plans that are alike. And remember, when I went back, I talked about the importance of reviewing periodically where you are and making adjustments, right? You don't just close your eyes and just, here's my plan, I'm sticking to it, and I have no idea if it's going to work or not. But by reviewing it periodically, you can make those adjustments and make sure that you are still on the right path to achieve whatever financial goal you want for the upcoming year. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, Access Connect, I would love to talk to you, as would our team of colleagues. Again, we are all accredited financial counselors, and we can help you on a whole array of things, everything from employment options to starting salaries to negotiating job offers, understanding benefits. Insurance is a big issue right now out there, personal liability insurance. If you're going to think about establishing your own practice, there's a whole host of products. So I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. I hope you found this valuable, and I hope that I can hear from you soon.
Great, thank you, Amy. We did have a question coming in about these counseling programs. Can they request a session directly with you?
Yes, they
Okay,
can.
great.
So all you
And-
have to do is go on to accessflex.org/accessconnect, and they can just type in freehand that they'd like to speak to me.
Great. And then also, what should they have on hand for a session? Are there certain documents?
So here's what I would say. It depends. So if you would like some student loan information and repayment options, I would like to know what your total debt is in student loans. I'd like to know when your first loan was taken out. Most of what we can talk about, you'll have at your fingertips. So it's really only with student loan debt that I'd like for you to have your student loan information. If you're looking at creating a financial plan, I'd love for you to sketch out a rough budget, and then that will save us time, right? And I could say, hey, you forgot, did you think of a line item for taxes? Did you think of a line item for car maintenance? Did you think of a line item for, personal entertainment or vacation? And we can kind of round that out.
Great. And then there's another question that kind of aligns with what you were just talking about. Are there any programs that you recommend for putting together a financial plan? Do you just use like Google Sheets, Excel, or are there actual like computer programs?
I am an old-fashioned gal, and I love Excel. And I play around with Excel because Excel will allow me to personalize, because some of my financial goals don't fit or are unique to my situation, right? So for instance, I am probably closer to retirement than not. And so I am really looking at, in the next 3 to 5 years, how much do I need to save to achieve a monthly return of X? And so I can configure that, and I can create formulas in Excel that suit what I'm looking for. So I would say anything to start off with. You need a budget, YNAB is good. Anyone, Mint, any one of those that are tracking your expenses, because it's one thing to create, but you also have to track. So I would say experiment. I am all about using free resources. I do not pay for any of my apps. I think there are a lot of free resources out there. You may even, if your spouse or if you worked for an employer this summer and there was a financial advisor there, you can even call them. I still have my financial advisor that I started 30 years ago, and he has been with me every step of the way. He knows exactly where I want to be, and I don't pay him because he came with my 401k plan. So just a thought of what you can do. By all means, you can absolutely hire a financial planner for yourself. I would say, here's a tip. It is okay to disagree with your financial planner. No one cares more about your money than you do. And so if you don't agree with what the financial planner is suggesting to you, please, this is your money. You are paying them for advice, right? Be upfront. Don't feel bad and say, oh my gosh, I know I'm paying him. He's the expert. She's the expert. Who am I to say I disagree? Any good financial advisor will really walk you through the process, and they will not be offended. They'll ask you, what is it that makes you uncomfortable with this plan? What is it that is at risk that you do not like? And they will walk through and make adjustments. This is as much a joint effort. And remember, this is your financial plan. It's not theirs, it's yours. So please don't be afraid to get involved, roll up your sleeves and ask.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Amy. You gave us a lot of great information to think about for planning for our financial health for next year and beyond. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and a special thank you to Amy and Access Lex. We hope you join us for upcoming virtual office hour programming. You can visit abaforlawstudents.com for the full lineup. Also, be sure to check out the ambar.org/debt for the 2020 Student Loan Debt Survey Report, which examines the issues at the heart of the student loan crisis and offers recommendations. So thank you, everyone, and have a great holiday season.
Thank you. Bye-bye.